those of you who have just joined us, I'm with Indiana June, also known as Indy. She's returned to New Zealand for just a couple of weeks and very shortly is off to Buenos Aires, the exotic part of South America. So a few people wanted to know a few things about Indiana June. So she put a message up on Facebook, I understand, and asked if anyone had any questions. And amazingly, we've got lots of questions. So first of all, introducing Indy.
Hello,
Nice
how are you? Thanks to everyone who's been following me this far. At the moment we're in Wellington, New Zealand, and the next big poll that I've been voted to do is to take a job in Buenos Aires in Argentina. So
That's how I say it, Buenos Aires.
That's it.
Very exotic. Alright, so we'll get straight into the questions. Now, we've even got place names for where people are from. They've come from all over the world. So, Michelle McGarvey, who's written a question from Brisbane.
Hi, Michelle.
Have there been any moments that have totally left you awestruck by some act of kindness, generosity from a stranger that has really touched your heart?
There's been quite a few, as you can imagine, after 8 months of cycling around the place. But the one that lately I've noticed come up in my head when people ask me that kind of question is when I was cycling in the Andes. So we left Quito and we were cycling north. We'd been in the Andes for about 3 days and it was really hard, as you'd imagine. Like, the mountains are just straight up. And I had this really tough day and it got to about 3 in the afternoon and normally you're cycling along, you're kind of going and you're just kind of in your zone. And I saw this guy who was waiting for a bus on the side of the road, and it's really rural there. And he kind of waved at me and I barely acknowledged him. I'm just cycling, just thinking, oh, am I ever going to get to the top of this hill? And I just had nothing left. And then I go past him and I hear these footsteps running behind me. And I'm thinking, this is it. I'm actually done for here. He runs up to the back of my bike, grabs onto the back carrier, and I'm like on a cliff ledge. I'm thinking he's just going to push me over the edge or he's going to steal my bike or whatever. And then the next thing I feel myself being propelled up the hill. And so I go from being, okay, I'm going to die, to realising this guy is actually pushing me up the hill. I must look so bloody buggered that he needs to actually get me up the hill. So that was pretty special. I went from, I guess, kind of thinking the worst about this person to thinking, wow, this has just made my day. And it made the day cycling so incredible.
Oh, beautiful. Alright, moving on. We have a question from Scott Stoll of Wisconsin. Oh, from the other side of the world.
Hello, Scott.
Scott would like to know when you're coming to Wisconsin. That's his question.
That's a good question. Scott from Wisconsin. To be honest, I'm going to go, obviously my next stop is Buenos Aires. I'm going to work for a little bit, save some money, and I guess Wisconsin's a fair way north from there, but if you guys vote for me to go, I could be there in a few months, years, I don't know. Depends how long it takes me, I guess.
Yeah, they could do something to get you to Wisconsin, perhaps.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, next question. Karen McEldowney from New Plymouth. What comforts of home do you miss the most? And are there any poll results you secretly wished had gone a different way?
Comforts of home, I guess just things like hair conditioner, and I mean it's not necessarily from New Zealand, but the little things you can't carry on a bicycle, I guess you miss. Just having condiments and different things for your cooking, but I guess a poll that maybe I wish might have gone the other way would be the last one I did in San Francisco. I put it up blindly. Someone had said you should cycle up Lombard Street. It's one of the steepest streets in San Francisco, and I was like, oh yeah, sweet.
Yeah, this is the one with the big photo you put up on Facebook.
Yeah, it's kind of a zigzag sort of street that's really, really steep. I'm like, you know what, it's not impossible to cycle up there. People can probably walk up it, so I can cycle up it. What I didn't realise was that it was one way, downhill, single lane, which meant I had to get a whole lot of awesome San Francisco cyclists to come join me, and we had people at the top stopping the traffic so I could like weave my way up, and I had a little entourage of other cyclists, so that was...
So you made it.
Yeah. So I guess maybe reading them before I post them would be smart. But mostly, I mean, sometimes I wish a poll would go one way and it doesn't, but generally it works out for the best anyway.
That's true. It's very philosophical.
Yeah. Thank you.
Alright, we're going now to Sydney. Bryony Tucker in Sydney. If you could sum up your alter ego Indiana in 3 words, what would they be?
Well, I would say Indiana she's pretty courageous. One of the main words I hear when I say to people, or maybe brave, courageous or brave, when I meet people, they're like, you're doing what? And you're doing it on your own? And I don't think of it as being particularly brave, but I think Indiana kind of brings it out in me. She's pretty good like that. She's pretty optimistic as well. She doesn't necessarily have a map wherever she's going.
She kind of has to be, doesn't she?
She doesn't necessarily know what the weather forecast is going to be or whether there's a place she can stay in the next town. But I think Indiana's traits would be, she's pretty. She looks on the bright side of things, and if she doesn't, it'd be quite a hard trip to make.
Yeah. And number 3?
Number 3, she's single. So if you know any nice lads that like cycling, let me know.
Like an Indiana John or something.
Indiana John, where are you?
All right, Sarah Levisk-Mikler, I think it is. Sorry if I said your name wrong. From Charleston, USA. What was the hardest day's ride yet? Because there must have been some big days.
I would probably say the day before the guy who grabbed onto my bike and like pushed me up the hill was another Andy's cycling day, and
sounds like it was pretty brutal.
I remember thinking at the time, what are you doing? And I mean, we hit this one hill which went for 15 kilometres. Now, I've done 1 kilometre, 2 kilometre, 3 kilometre, maybe up to 5 kilometre hills. Normally there's some sort of downhill. This was 15 kilometres, and after about 5, my legs just weren't up for it anymore. We're at 4,000 metres altitude, so I couldn't breathe. It was like I had asthma with every pedal. It was pretty horrific. And I remember I got to the point where I just was pushing the bike up the hill. So I would push for maybe 30 seconds, and then I would rest for 30 seconds. So I'm timing myself on the watch. And at one point I thought about crying, and I was so on my own that I was like, if I cry, that's going to use extra energy that I need for pushing up this bloody hill. So I'm not going to cry. And so I think those days you do kind of find out what you're made of, and you do not need too many of those in your life, I think. But no, amazing when you get to the top and you come back down the other side. Yeah.
The highs with the lows.
Yeah.
Sarah also has another question. What was the most interesting thing you've seen along the side of the road? She must have seen a lot of road.
Well, Sarah actually cycled with me for a few weeks from France to Spain, which was awesome. One of the weirdest things would have... You see a lot of roadkill. You have to get pretty comfortable with dead things and the smell of dead things. I've seen horses and dogs and snakes and all sorts. But the weirdest thing I've seen repetitively would have to be pregnancy tests. Like, I've seen them in most countries. That you know, like the little stick that you pee on. Like, yeah. I haven't picked any out, but I've been past maybe 3 or 4 of them in different countries, and it got me thinking, like, why do they throw these out? And it's because I guess they don't want people to find the evidence of whether they're pregnant or not.
But on the side of the road?
It's weird, I tell you, it's weird.
I didn't see that coming. A pregnancy test. Right. Christy Ellis from Brisbane. Complete this sentence. Oh, there's some great questions. I tried it once, but I will never ever again.
Zorbing.
Zorbing.
Have you ever heard of what zorbing is? It's a giant inflatable ball. It was actually invented by the Kiwis, who love their bungee jumping.
Down the hills.
You get in this inflatable ball and roll down a hill and you're strapped inside it, which sounds kind of fun, but in reality it's like being strapped into a inflatable circular washing machine where you just you can't see anything going. And you just flip from here to, like, I don't think my neck has ever quite recovered from that, and that was another thing people voted for me to do, so thank you.
This might not be doing anything for Zorbing Company's promotion.
Sorry, Zorbing, but no, don't do it.
Danica Snelson, recently engaged in Melbourne, I understand.
Congratulations.
How many punctures have your wheels encountered, and what was the strangest place to fix it?
I've had hardly any punctures at all. I don't know, touch wood, grab something. Yeah, I've only had 3, which seems ridiculous in the entire time I've been cycling. I've got amazing Continental tyres, and for some reason, they've just, I don't know, they've been amazing.
You could sell a tyre brand right now.
Maybe I should get on. I need to be sponsored. But so the day when I cycled with the girl Sarah from France to Spain, I remember in one day she had 3 punctures. Now the whole time I cycled, 8 months, I only had 3 punctures in total, and she got 3 in one day. And I made her buy a new tyre the next day because it was just falling apart. You could see it just disintegrating. But it was fun. We got stuck in the middle of like France somewhere, rural area, and I was like, look, I'm going to go for a little ride and see if there's anything nearby. And I came back with 2 ice cold beers, like Heinekens or something, and we were in the middle of nowhere. We cracked these Heinekens, and she's fixing her tyre. It was like something in an ad. We were just had a cold Heineken. She got back on the road, and we were off again. So
3. That's awesome.
3.
Very impressive. John Foy.
Hey, John.
In Sydney. There's a lot of Sydney followers here. How many Ks or miles do you reckon you've pedalled in total?
Well, it's give or take a bit. I haven't got the best measuring system. I've got a little kind of thing on my bike that tells me how far, but I often forget to hook it up. I know that I did about 1,000 kilometres around Ireland to start, and that was on Snowy, my first bike. And he did well, but he wasn't a cycle touring bike. So I sold him for £50 to someone in the park and bought Meg, which if you read the blog, you will have seen pictures of my darling Meg. She's done at least 5,000 kilometres. So I must be at least 6,000, maybe.
Round it up. Say 10.
Yeah, round up to 10.
At least 10,000.
Yeah, too far.
Kim O'Neill in Newcastle says, Indy, if you could go back and do one day over again, like have a second chance at maybe an awful day, which one would it be, and how would you do it differently?
Probably the worst thing on its own. Like, I mean, you get robbed and you lose stuff, so and that, you know, is never great. But you can kind of replace that stuff. The scariest day I ever had was when I got electrocuted on the bicycle, cycled under this giant pylon, and turned out the bike went live, and where the back of my legs were hitting on the back post, the metal post, I started getting shocks. And I thought it was like an ant or something and flick it away. And I flick it with my hand and get a massive shock. So I hit the brakes, and they are metal as well, and got, I don't know if it was static electricity or what, but it was such a powerful shock that it threw me off the bike. And I'm in the ditch, and I pick up the bike and grab onto all the bits that aren't metal and just start running with it. And that was kind of a bit of a shock. That was sort of a crap day. To do it differently. I don't know how you can avoid being electrocuted. I guess if I hear pylons buzzing or crackling above me, I think avoid them. Yep, that would be my advice for people watching and who ride bikes. Crackling pylons, avoid.
All right, we're off to Canterbury, Kent. Ros Tansey, one of your sisters, I think.
Oh, Rosa.
Ros asks, what is the funniest response you've had from someone when you explain the Indiana June concept?
Oh my God, this is embarrassing.
This is embarrassing.
This is quite... Well, I mean, sometimes people just are kind of shocked and surprised that you're a female and you're on a bike, but this quite comical Irish chap, they always have the wit, he said, that sounds like a porn name. And I was like, what do you mean sounds like a porn name? And obviously I'm Indiana June. He was like, Indiana June. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, Indiana, you know, like the guy with the lasso, and he was just, by that point he was in hysterics. He thought it was hilarious. So, yeah.
Right.
That's probably the funniest response.
It certainly is. Thanks for your question, Ros Tansey. Actually, moving around the Tansey family, we're off to Scott Tansey in Dunedin. What country has been the most accepting to a crazy Kiwi girl travelling around on just a bike?
Oh, hey, Scotty.
Good question, Scott.
Good question. In terms of being set up for cyclists, France is incredible. If you got the chance to do any cycle touring there, they have campsites, and I cycled along the canals. You got these amazing castles every few kilometres. It's amazing. But I mean, you probably know the French. They probably not quite as friendly as some some nations. In terms of just friendliness, the Irish were amazing. My first 5 weeks, I couldn't go more than a day without someone inviting me in for a cup of tea. You know, straight off the street. A pint of Guinness, and then you didn't get much further that day. I remember one lady at the I don't know what do you call, like the corner shop. I bought some butter. I bought some bread rolls, and I bought some ham. Obviously, I was going to make a sandwich, and when I went up to pay, I looked a bit, I don't know. I was wearing all my lycra. I probably wasn't looking too flash, and she said, "Do you want me to butter those bread rolls for you?" I was like, "Oh, bless." That's so sweet. So, I mean, those little acts of kindness, it means nothing. A couple of spreads of butter, but it makes
a big difference when you're in lycra and you needed some help. Right. Kunal, is this right?
Kunal? Yeah.
Kunal Kauro.
Go with it.
Who comes from Buenos Aires, or does he live in Buenos Aires?
I think, he's moving there soon too, actually.
He's moving there soon. His question is, how awesome is Buenos Aires going to be on a scale of freaking awesome to ridiculously awesome?
So if you've been following the adventure, you probably know I'm off to Buenos Aires next. So that's a good question, Kunal.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be pretty
Probably
freaking
up there with ridiculously
awesome. Well, I hope. It's got to be. It's old optimistic Indiana speaking.
Yeah. Is it single Indiana speaking? We're off to Dundee, Scotland. You've really got pins all over the world. Stuart Finlayson.
Hello, Stu.
What did you most enjoy about Buenos Aires when you previously visited there, and what is it about the place that is drawing you back?
Well, I guess firstly, you guys voted for it, so that I don't have a lot of choice in it. But putting it up as an option, I guess, was my call. So for me, I was only there 1 short month, and I did 2 weeks of Spanish lessons, which was, I thought I'd master the whole language in 2 weeks. It doesn't quite work like that. But instantly, when I arrived, it's this international kind of bubbling, creative sort of city, and the party life is really exciting. There's so much happening. There's amazing music. There's tango. There's graffiti everywhere. It's a creative place. It just feels like anything is possible there. And I met some incredible characters, just people that just took me into their life, and just I thought, wow, I could live here. So to be going back there and working is a dream. Obviously, I'll still have the bike and be getting about on it, but I can't wait to see how it goes. Actually, I guess getting a bit more involved in the culture and the people there rather than just visiting or passing through.
Sounds very exciting. Final question is again from Christy Ellis. Have you ever wished you could have a poll for personal aspects of your life, i.e. not bike related, and if not, what?
Oh, that's a good question.
Good questions, Chrissy.
I think there's been a huge variety of questions. Sometimes it's been more about what do I do rather than just where am I going to cycle.
What do I eat?
What do I eat? For the people that voted that I only eat food that starts with W for an entire day, that was a challenge. But I guess moving forward, now I've been doing this trip for 8 months, and I got my job just by going to all the places that you guys voted for, and then someone's offered me a job through that. I had my job interview on Skype while I was in the Galapagos Islands, with pink flamingos in the background behind me, which is pretty amazing, really. So I guess from now, I want to keep the Indiana Jones story going. So I'm looking for, I guess, the people that follow it and that enjoy the stories to let me know about things they want to know about Buenos Aires, and I'd like to make you part of getting settled in this new amazing South American city, and some of the decisions that crop up along the way I'd like to get people voting on. So
that sounds very cool. So you leave this coming Sunday.
That's right.
The 22nd of April.
Yep.
And you fly direct to Buenos Aires?
Fly via Santiago.
Wow. And you can do anything exciting there? How long do you have there?
About 3 hours in transit.
I reckon there's a poll in there. You could do something in transit.
Something in 3 hours. What could you do in 3 hours in an airport?
Oh, have a think about it.
Okay, let me know.
Well, it's very exciting. Indiana June, first interview. If anyone has any more questions, you're welcome to put it up. Maybe we could do like a long distance interview, or maybe I could be replaced by a Buenos Aires version, and you could have an interview over in South America.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much. Cheers,
Over and out.
Bye.